Jordan hires Ellie as his physical therapist after a series of others left because of his bad behavior. He treats Ellie badly too, but her determination to heal him makes him see her in a different light. As Ellie arrives in Fiji, Neil picks her up from the airport. She has been hired as the physical therapist for tennis player Jordan, who has injured his shoulder. Neil has been at the island for 4 months and has been Jordan's coach for 4 years. When Jordan decided to recover in Fiji, Neil also tagged along. Ellie notices how great the surroundings are and doesn't believe that the last physical therapist left. Neil explains that Jordan is having a hard time adjusting to his injuries and doesn't make it easy. He shows her to her room and claims Jordan's expecting her soon. They notice Jordan getting angry at the housekeeper and throwing things. Jordan doesn't think Ellie is old enough to be a physical therapist. Ellie doesn't think age matters when she does her job well. Jordan still feels all therapists are useless. No one has been able to treat his shoulder yet, and it has been 4 months. Ellie asks about a picture of his family, but he doesn't like her being friendly. He reminds her she's only there to fix his shoulder. He thinks all physical therapists are a waste of time and money. She asks why he hired her when he already doubts her. Jordan explains that he needs to do everything to recover soon. He has been away from his people for too long, and every competition he misses is resulting in a loss. He feels like this place is an exile. Ellie thinks of his recovery as a goal when she addresses him as her patient. He claims he is her boss. She wants to start the exercises, but he claims to be busy that day. He calls her the next morning at 11. As Ellie sits down with Jordan's files, she gets a call from Cynthia. She shows her how beautiful Fiji is and thinks this new gig is mostly amazing. She still knows it will be a lot of hard work with her patient. Cynthia is sure whatever the issue is, Ellie can handle it. Ellie asks about things at the clinic, and Cynthia claims it's not the same without her. She thinks it's their loss because Ellie seems to be in a beautiful location. Ellie wants to start with an exam the next day, but Jordan reminds her she's not a doctor. She still thinks it will help him and asks how often he wears the sling. It hurts more without it, but she asks him to let his arm dangle on the side. He jokes about blowing bubbles next, but she ignores it and guides him through the activity. He takes some over-the-counter medicine for his pain because the doctors can't prescribe anything stronger. She asks to see his shoulder, but Jordan gets irritated by her wearing scrubs. He asks her to dress normally since this is not a hospital. He's not doing any of the prescribed activities because they hurt. He asks her to not ask questions and just do her job. Regina, who works with Jordan's agent, Dale, has come to see him. Dale has sent her so they can get some business done and get him back on court. Ellie wants to continue with the therapy, but Jordan dismisses her. Neil suggests getting Regina settled while Jordan continues with the therapy. Regina asks if Ellie can come back later because she wants to eat with Jordan. Neil invites Ellie for the meal too, but Regina insists she might have other things to do. Ellie decides to work on his recovery plans and asks for his latest records from the last few therapists. Regina feels Jordan has picked a great place for recovery. He misses being away from all the action, but Dale has asked her to keep him focused. Many tournaments are coming up, and they need him back in the game. She's glad she'll stay there and keep him posted about the business. Some of his endorsements are getting anxious about when he will recover, but they have assured everyone Jordan will make a comeback soon. Jordan doesn't like that she has to babysit him, but she's happy to. Ellie feels like she's relaxing too much when she wants to start helping Jordan. She claims she took this job since her clinic had many layoffs. She still wonders how Neil manages Jordan. Neil has coached him and other players for years. He knows some players have big personalities and love the theatrics. He thinks Jordan is different from them, even if he seems difficult to her. Ellie knows he was injured in a car crash, and no one knows the full details. Neil explains that he deals with Jordan by not letting him push him away. Ellie feels she needs Jordan to trust her to make this work. Neil knows Jordan needs to respect her first if she wants to earn his trust. He sees her as a professional, who all look at him with pity. He thinks if Ellie can prove that she sees him differently, it might work. Jordan is discussing the insurance on his arm, but the call doesn't go well. Ellie suggests some water exercises, but Jordan is again not in the mood for therapy. He claims he has a lot on his mind and is busy. He asks her to come back when he feels like it, and pushes her into the pool. Ellie gets a little mad and asks why he's so unwilling to try. He claims he wants to get better, but never does anything about it. She reminds him that she came to help like the other therapists. She knows it won't work till he stops blaming them and admits he is the problem. She has gone over his recent files and knows his shoulder is getting worse. He also feels angry. because he has noticed the pain. She claims a patient's condition betters or worsens based on the effort they put in. She feels he's far behind and can forget about tennis ever again if he doesn't work on it. He thinks she's trying to scare him, but she asks him for just 1 week. She needs 3 hours every day and offers to fly herself home in 7 days if it doesn't work. Neil finds her soaking, but Ellie claims she can handle Jordan. Neil reminds Jordan about Kyle Carney, whom he coached for 2 years. No one liked him till the second year of coaching, when he started ranking in top 10. Kyle then dumped Neil to get other trainers. But Neil didn't care, because he was glad he started trying. He started trusting people, which is when he became a better player. Neil is afraid Jordan is doing the exact opposite, and not trusting anyone. No one is expecting him to be the same after the crash. But he also feels the time for making excuses is over. Neil supports him if he decides to quit, but he knows something is holding him back. He asks Jordan to figure out how to face his problems, because Regina, Dale, and many others won't wait forever. Neil feels he's taking the time to get better, but not using it. He feels Jordan needs to do something himself to make it happen. Ellie calls Cynthia to discuss a strategy for Jordan. She knows the treatment, but needs to figure out a way to keep him engaged. She knows Jordan is the kind who expects instant results. Cynthia suggests a change of scenery, since half of her patients dread coming to a drab clinic. Ellie knows his surroundings are already great, but she feels Cynthia has a point. She starts taking notes in different places, and has a car ready for Jordan's next session. He reminds her to not waste time on the first of the 7 days he has given her. She throws his phone in the car, and asks him to hike with her. She brings him to a waterfall, because he never uses the pool at his resort. She asks him to give this place a chance. The water seems cold, but Jordan reluctantly joins Ellie in the center. She knows the water will help him with the inflammation in his shoulder. She guides him so he can float. She claims to have found this place on Google, and he almost gives her a smile. She asks him to do some exercises in the water, which he thinks are a waste of time, but she forces him to do it in sets of 10. He asks if she was a drill sergeant before this. Ellie used to be a dancer, and broke her leg very badly one day. She had a great therapist who helped her get back on her feet and gain confidence. She still loves to dance, but likes physical therapy more. Jordan complains about his shoulder feeling worse, but she thinks sore muscles are good for recovery. He reminds her she just has 6 more days to make this work. Neil takes her for lunch and explains that he feels Jordan is his responsibility. His kids are doing their own thing, and his wife passed away a few years ago. He likes to think he's keeping Jordan out of trouble. He has traveled a lot for work, and it seems nice to be settled in Fiji for a while. She reminds him they're not there forever, especially her. She needs to make this work with Jordan, or she'll be on her way home. Neil thinks she surprised Jordan that day, and asks what she has planned next. Jordan thinks they're doing yoga the next day, but she asks him to sit on the mat and drink coconut water. She wants to learn more about him. He claims he started playing tennis as a kid, and kept at it through high school too since his parents were supportive. He was invited to play in many tournaments, and got a scholarship in college. He went pro after that, but it still took a lot of effort and luck. He got some good endorsement deals to cover the costs before he joined the tennis association. He initially got a different coach other than Neil, and started traveling and competing. He claims he doubted going pro once for 6 months in college. During that time, he studied to be a lawyer as a backup plan. But he soon realized tennis was more fun. It still is, but the crash changed everything. He starts warming up to her, and claims his shoulder feels slightly better. Regina has been looking for Jordan to let him know about an ad campaign. She asks him not to worry about playing, and asks to discuss the details over dinner. The campaign is getting footage from his past tournaments to make an amazing ad. They might want more specific shots, but she asks him not to worry about it till he gets better. He doesn't sound too happy, but she thinks it's great. He's earning 7 figures over 3 years. Jordan is grateful, and thanks her and Dale for everything. Regina asks if she should make calls to find other therapists. But Jordan has already decided to give Ellie a few more days till he takes a call. He's not sure if she's helping yet. He feels weird when Regina asks him to taste her dinner. Cynthia calls Ellie right after she sends her a picture of the view. Ellie knows Jordan is getting better, and hopes it works out. Neil asks about Jordan's progress, and Ellie feels they had a good session. She wants to know how good he is, because she doesn't follow tennis. Neil thinks he was among the top 10 in the world before the wreck. Ellie feels that's a lot of pressure for her and Jordan. She thinks he can fully recover, but only if he works hard and sticks to the therapy. Jordan is fascinated by Ellie bringing him to different locations for every session. She has chosen that place since the still water will help. She knows their sessions are enough, but she needs him to do some exercises on his own time. She loves this place, since the closest she got to it was a lake back home. Her dad used to take her fishing, and she still tries to make time for it. Her dad is a dentist, who also had a car accident like him a few years ago. He wasn't her patient, but was very difficult to deal with. Jordan feels an incident like that changes everything in a second. He remembers being on his way to the airport when it started raining. The bus couldn't stop in time and crushed him. Ellie understands this type of trauma can be very hard, but she knows it'll get better if he sticks to the exercises. He wants to trust her, but keeps wondering what will happen if his arm isn't normal again. Jordan tries to do an exercise with his weak arm alone, and feels proud of making it move. Ellie brings him to a place with turtles the next time, and thinks they have a wonderful life. She knows they have a lot of predators, and still risk everything to make it home to the ocean. She points out how they keep trying despite all the issues. Jordan is convinced, and removes her deadline for the week. He promises to do whatever she suggests, and asks her to stay. While Regina makes Jordan sign a contract, she notices him getting distracted by Ellie and Neil. Ellie notices him working out on the treadmill, and asks him to pay attention to any strain on his shoulder. She offers to stay to make sure he's fine. She's off to an early dinner, and invites him. Jordan seems suspicious of the food, because he never eats out of the resort. He has a place in Florida, but not with a tennis court in his backyard. He wasn't always a pro, and grew up in Iowa. His parents are still there, but he doesn't seem comfortable discussing them. They wanted him to move back to Iowa, but he didn't have time. She asks why he chose to come to Fiji instead, but he gets offended since this feels like an interrogation. He apologizes as they walk back, because he gets irritated when the topic of recovery comes up. She understands that's why he didn't like it when she wore scrubs and called him a patient. She feels they are all more than what they do and their circumstances. She feels bad if she made him feel like just a patient. He feels worse because he was very mean to her initially. He knows now that she cares a lot. Jordan asks Neil if all the therapists he rejected were like Ellie. Neil knows they were equally skilled, but he also feels Ellie is different. He has heard from Regina that Jordan is making plans for upcoming tournaments. She thinks it's important to make appearances to stay relevant, and Jordan agrees. When Ellie and Jordan are working on his exercises, he asks what she does when she's not torturing him. He wants her to enjoy the resort, and asks if she ever played tennis. Dance is the only sport she knows about, so he decides to change it for her. He invites Neil to the court too, so he can show Ellie the basics of the game. She tries to swing the racket, but he shows her how to do it properly. He asks Neil to throw the first ball at him. Ellie asks Jordan to be careful with his arm, and claims the rest of the balls are for her. She gets comfortable on the court and starts teasing Jordan about her game. Regina notices them together and doesn't like it. Ellie sends a video to Cynthia, who instantly calls her back. She asks about Jordan and if he's playing again. Ellie claims that was for fun, so Cynthia feels like something is going on between them. She teases Ellie about having a romantic interest in him, but she tries to change the topic. Regina brings dinner for Jordan and keeps going on about a painting she wanted to buy. Jordan tries to be polite and claims he has nothing against art. She suggests going to the Louvre when they visit France. Jordan doesn't know if he will qualify with all the absences, and asks her to hold off on the idea. Neil has had a lot of time in Fiji, and has managed to improve his pool skills. He will have to travel a lot when Jordan gets better, so he's trying to make the most of his free time. Ellie doesn't know what she will do after this. She thinks finding another job might be tricky. Jordan wants to head out for a bit, and asks Ellie to join him. He takes her to a spot he found on Google too, and feels like he should have brought a fishing pole for her. He doesn't seem too excited about leaving Fiji. He wants to keep playing, but doesn't know if it will be the same. He asks if Ellie never went back to dance after the injury, because she was scared it won't be the same. Ellie misses some parts of that life, but doesn't think she would have been happier. She thinks the choices she made after the injury were important. Jordan shares that he was treating his sister, Anna, to a Paris trip on the day of the accident. She always wanted to go there, and was in the car with him and the driver. Jordan is the only one who survived, and Ellie finally understands why he wanted to isolate himself. He thinks he can't go back now and pretend everything is normal. The last time he spoke to his parents was also at Anna's funeral. She always looked up to him, and they got along well. It felt easier to not talk to his parents, but Ellie feels they might help him figure out what he wants next. That night, Jordan finally calls his mom, and seems happy to talk to her. Regina thinks Jordan is acting different. and Neil wants to thank Ellie for that. She asks about where Ellie is from, but Neil doesn't exactly remember the clinic. Regina feels she's not the best therapist. Neil reminds her that they've tried all top therapists, and Ellie is the only one who seems right for Jordan. When Regina asks him, Jordan claims his shoulder is certainly improving. Regina finds it weird when Jordan starts helping the staff clean his room. Jordan joins Ellie at night without his sling, since he wanted to give it a try. He suggests she can dance, but she feels nervous. He teases her about not being fearless, so she asks him to dance with her. She assures him it's not another strange physical therapy session. She's sure his shoulder can handle it, and thinks he's stronger than he believes. Jordan can't figure out if she's talking or the therapist. He informs her that he spoke to his mom, who was very weepy and excited to hear from him. He realizes he should stay in touch with them more. Ellie is glad she came to the tropical paradise, and claims it's not just about the place. They share an awkward moment, but get saved by Cynthia's call. Ellie brings Jordan to the waterfall again. He feels grateful to her, because he can be around her and not talk. He doesn't like people who want to fill the silence with their constant jabber. This is why it feels nice to have her in his space. He teases her about ruining it by talking when she takes it as a compliment. They get into a water splash fight, and almost get close enough to kiss before some tourists interrupt them. Ellie asks Neil if Jordan is in a relationship. She doesn't like that she has feelings for him, because he's a patient. Neil reminds her they don't have a binding contract, and he got her there to help him. She still thinks it's a job, and she's being unprofessional. Neil feels like they have grown beyond a regular patient-therapist relationship. She has helped and changed him a lot. He knows Jordan is much happier now for the first time since Anna passed away. He thinks it's because Ellie is good for him. He knows Jordan doesn't like Regina, and she's only chasing him because she has feelings for him. But like Ellie, she's also worried it might ruin her professional relationship with him. Ellie gets a message from Jordan asking her to come to the beach. Jordan is walking around without a sling, and he credits Ellie for that. Regina reminds him that they need to commit to the ad campaign, Sand Raven. They need him back in the 4 months. Jordan feels it's too soon to commit, and claims he will call Dale when he gets back. She thinks it's important, but watches him leaving on the boat with Ellie. Jordan brings Ellie to a private island. He likes that she's a simple girl, and is not caught up in the fast pace of the world. He remembers how good Anna was at identifying which people are fake or real. Jordan was getting wrapped up in the competition too, but Anna always kept him grounded. They come across hibiscus flowers, which Ellie knows stand for beauty and perfection. Jordan takes out a flower and puts it on her. He thanks her for coming with him. He kisses her, and they walk hand in hand across the beach. Jordan wants to see the sunset at the pier with her soon. He spots starfish and tries to chase them. Ellie warns him against it, because the rocks look dangerous. He still goes ahead and falls. Regina learns from Neil that Jordan got hurt while he was out with Ellie. Jordan feels stupid for making his injury worse. The doctor wants to do a scan to see if it impacted his original injury. He refuses to sit in a tube and snaps at Ellie when she tries to convince him. Regina looks around Neil's office and calls the therapy center Ellie worked at. Ellie and Neil think Jordan can still get better, but he snaps at them. Ellie offers to get a muscle cream from her room when they're back. Jordan still feels stupid for being there, even if it was an accident. Regina claims Ellie should have known better with her history. She has heard from her former employer that Ellie was responsible for making a patient worse with one of her impossible recovery plans. The person Jordan spoke to said something else. He doesn't remember who it was, but Ellie reminds him it was Cynthia. Regina thinks Ellie used her friend to lie for her, so she could get a good reference. Ellie clarifies that Cynthia works there too. She gave that reference because she knows what actually happened. Regina thinks this was part of Ellie's agenda. Ellie explains that a senior doctor forced her to follow a plan she knew was bad. When the patient got injured, she was blamed. Regina thinks a patient still got hurt on her watch. Regina hears from Dale about Sand Raven wanting an answer soon. They are threatening to pull out if they don't get it. Ellie thinks they can still salvage it, but Jordan snaps at her. He thinks what she did made him worse, and asks her to get out. Ellie still tries to work on his shoulder again the next day, but Jordan refuses her help. Dale suggests pulling out of the Sand Raven deal. Even Regina thinks Jordan can't make it on their timeline. She assures Jordan she will figure something out. When Ellie is making plans for Jordan, Regina hands her plane tickets for the next day. She claims Jordan needs someone more qualified. Ellie packs up her bags, but informs the concierge that her flight isn't for a few more hours. She wants to go to another place and asks to leave her bags. She also leaves some files for Jordan. Neil asks her to not leave and claims Jordan is just upset. Ellie thinks he wants her to leave and asks Neil to take care of him. Jordan takes out his sling and can hold a racket better than he did months ago. Neil asks him to not quit now and knows Ellie brought back the old him after Anna passed away. Jordan thinks she lied to him, but Neil asks him to clarify the whole story before he judges her. He reminds Jordan that Ellie took a chance on him and asks why he sent her home. Jordan calls Cynthia at the center and asks about what happened with Ellie. He also gets the files Ellie left for him. He finds a note from her for the next therapist. She asks them to be patient with him because he deserves to have the life he wants. He checks Ellie's room, but learns that she has already checked out. Regina finds him moping about Ellie, and Jordan knows she gave her the ticket. Regina claims she thought Jordan wanted her gone since she wasn't qualified. Jordan claims it was his fault he got hurt, but Regina feels like he's defending her. Regina realizes he wants her there and confesses she has had feelings for him too. But she knows how he feels about Ellie and doesn't want to force it. She has decided to go back and informs him about Ellie's flight timings. Jordan checks with a concierge and finds her at the pier. Jordan asks Ellie to not go and clarifies that he didn't give her the ticket. He knows he is to blame for the confusion. She feels bad about not being upfront with him about her past. Jordan explains that he spoke to Cynthia. He knows she was put in an impossible situation by a horrible boss. He's not proud of how he reacted when he hurt his shoulder again. He hates the self-pity and that he took out his anger on her. She suggests getting another therapist for him, but Jordan is sure he wants her in his life. He asks her to take a chance on him because he loves her. She confesses her love for him too, and they kiss under the sunset.